Hello, friends, and welcome to another no doubt riveting edition of the Ocho Points Podcast. This one is going to be a short one this week. We'll be covering mostly baseball and some UFC, so let's get things started. As I said at the beginning of the show, this one is going to be a short one this week. I have been busy trying to get this podcast uploaded onto iTunes, and good news, I finally have. It was sort of on iTunes before, but it wasn't under the correct name that I wanted it to be under, and it only allowed me to have a generic WordPress logo as my profile picture because the podcast is being hosted on a WordPress website. So I wanted to put my own picture up on the podcast to have something associated with me rather than just associated with WordPress. I also wanted the right title of the podcast to be listed on iTunes. So I finally got that figured out. So it is up and available on iTunes, and I will provide a link in the description below. If you're either listening to this on YouTube or on my main website, ochopointspodcast.com, there will be a link in the description allowing you to go to iTunes so you can subscribe there. And please do subscribe. I appreciate any subscribers I have. I've really enjoyed doing this podcast so far, the first 4 weeks or so that I've done it. I hope those of you that have listened have enjoyed it. I'd really love to hear your feedback at some point. So if you guys have any feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments section or to shoot me an email at ochopointspodcast@gmail.com. That's OCHOPOINTS podcast@gmail.com. I appreciate any feedback to try and help make this show better and make it something that you will enjoy listening to and hopefully share with others. With that out of the way, I would like to say that this week's show is once again sponsored by one of the shirts that I have designed and uploaded to Teespring for sale. It's a very simple shirt. It says free high fives because, quite frankly, I am a high five lover, and who doesn't love giving a free high five? So why don't you grab one of these shirts, wear it, and go around giving people high fives and hopefully bringing a little bit of joy to their day. It's only $16.99 and it's available now at Teespring. You can go to teespring.com/FR high fives. That's teespring.com/FR high fives. Now, as a special promotion, anybody who subscribes to this podcast either on YouTube or on iTunes and is interested in picking up a shirt, take a picture of you subscribing to this podcast and email it to me at ochopointspodcast@gmail.com as proof that you subscribed, and I will give you a link to a promo code which will give you $3 off of the t-shirt. So instead of getting the free high fives t-shirt for $16.99, you will be getting it for only $13.99. Now, with that out of the way, as I said, this week's podcast will be a short one because I was working on getting this issue sorted out with iTunes, trying to get everything uploaded to my website properly so I could get it uploaded to iTunes properly. Now that it's all sorted out, it took up a great majority of my time this week, along with other things that I was doing. So, as I said off the top, this week I'll mostly be covering baseball, and I will be looking ahead at the UFC event taking place this Saturday in Dallas, Texas, UFC 185. So the first bit of baseball news I want to get into is Will Ferrell did something special and something awesome this past week. On Thursday, March the 12th, Will Ferrell played in 5 Major League spring training games, and he played 10 different positions for 10 teams. Well, he played 9 positions, plus he was the third base coach for one game. Basically, this was a publicity stunt for Will Ferrell, who wasn't promoting his upcoming movie, surprisingly. This was actually done to promote a show he's doing with HBO to bring awareness to Stand Up to Cancer and another cancer fundraiser, Cancer for College. So this was really an awareness and fundraiser day for Will Ferrell, and good on him for doing so. He played for 10 different teams in 5 different games. He started off the day playing for Oakland. He played shortstop for the Oakland Athletics. He then switched over midway through the game to the Seattle Mariners, and he played second base for them. He didn't really see much action in either of those games. He then flew off to play for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, where he played center field, taking over for Mike Trout. He did have a ball hit to him in center field, I believe, in Los Angeles, so he actually did make a fielding play. Then it was on to Chicago, where he was the third base coach and first baseman for the Cubs, and he actually had an at-bat. The Angels put the shift on him, but that didn't seem to matter as he ended up striking out swinging. It was then off to Arizona, where he would play left field for the Diamondbacks, where once again he would have a ball hit to him in the outfield. He didn't record an out on the play, but it was a pretty decent throw, so was the one in Los Angeles. Arizona then let him go, and he became a member of the Cincinnati Reds, where he played third base. He did not see any action at the hot corner, and his time at third base was short-lived. He then went on to play for the Chicago White Sox, where he was the designated hitter, so he got his second chance at bat on the day. Once again, he struck out, so he finished 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts at the plate on the day. He then switched sides to the San Francisco Giants, where he caught one batter. The batter was walked, and then he was pulled from the game. He then went on to his final game of the day, where he made a pitching appearance for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he managed to record an out. The batter bunted it back to the pitcher's mound. Will Ferrell picked up the ball, threw it to first, and recorded an out. So Will Ferrell officially recorded 1/3 of an inning before being pulled. He didn't allow any hits, didn't get any strikeouts, didn't allow any walks. He was then cut loose by the Dodgers and finished off his day with the San Diego Padres, where he played right field to end the game. So all in all, it was a fun day for fans, and it was a good day to raise money for cancer. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but from what I've heard, over $1 million was raised for Will Ferrell's cancer fundraising projects yesterday. So good on Will Ferrell. It was a fun day, as I said, and hopefully something like this can happen again next year during spring training. It's always good to have a little bit of fun during the spring and to do it for a good cause. On to some other baseball news, and this one is Blue Jays related, as I'm sure you probably have already guessed that I was going to cover Blue Jays this week. I am a Blue Jays fan, as I've mentioned numerous times on these podcasts already. And as I've mentioned previously, it's not fun or easy being a Blue Jays fan, and it got a lot less fun this week. On Tuesday, Toronto Blue Jays starting pitcher Marcus Stroman went down with a torn ACL. He received the injury while practicing routine bunting drills during an out-of-game practice. So, unfortunately, Marcus Stroman, who a lot of Blue Jays fans had high hopes for this year, as well as I think the club had high hopes for him this year, Marcus Stroman will not throw a pitch for the Blue Jays this year. He will be out for the entire season. We obviously wish Marcus a speedy recovery. Hope he gets back soon. Hope he recovers quickly. And we look forward to seeing him back in action next year. Of course, the Blue Jays aren't the only team suffering through injuries. Every team suffers through injuries. For example, the Texas Rangers just announced today, Friday, March the 13th, that their ace pitcher, Yu Darvish, will be shut down for the season. He's going to have to undergo Tommy John surgery. He's going to be out at least a year. So we also wish Yu Darvish a speedy recovery. So it's not just the Jays getting injuries, but it seems as if the Blue Jays have more injuries. We've got Stroman out. One of our power hitters, Edwin Encarnacion, is currently day-to-day with a bad back. One of our top relief pitchers, Brett Cecil, who many people believe might be the Blue Jays closer this season, he's currently out with an injury. As I already mentioned a couple of podcast episodes ago, Michael Saunders is out with an injury, although he is expected to recover much quicker than first anticipated, and a lot of people are talking about him possibly being able to be in the lineup for opening day. So that would be quite lovely to see as a Jays fan. But as of right now, he's still on the disabled list. There's a couple of other players that are injured for the Jays right now. So as I've said, a lot of teams get injuries. It seems like Toronto gets hit with a ton more injuries all at the same time, and it's just not easy being a Jays fan. This is by no means the end of the season. I mean, the regular season hasn't even begun yet, so there's still 162 games to be played. Anything can happen, but it can be a little bit disheartening at times to just see all of these injuries happening to your favorite team. From there, I will move on to the UFC. As I said at the top of the show, UFC 185 is taking place this Saturday, March the 14th, from Dallas, Texas. Now, this podcast is being recorded on Friday night, but chances are this won't be uploaded until sometime Saturday afternoon. So, the fights may have already happened by the time you hear this podcast. I am really looking forward to this card. On paper, it looks like it's going to be a really, really, really good card. The main event features Chris Carasso, I hope I pronounced that correctly, versus Henry Cueto. Again, I hope I pronounced that correctly. There will be a heavyweight fight between Roy Nelson and Alistair Overeem, and this one is either going to be drastically amazing or incredibly boring. I don't think there's going to be an in-between for this matchup. I'm not even going to pick winners for this. Also on the main card, we have Johnny Hendricks versus Matt Brown, which should be a really good fight in the welterweight division. Johnny is coming off a loss against ruthless Robbie Lawler back in December, where Lawler defeated Hendricks for the welterweight title. So I'm expecting to see Johnny come out furiously to try and prove that he deserves another shot at the welterweight title. For those who don't know, Johnny's last 3 fights have been for the title. He lost a controversial decision against George St. Pierre. St. Pierre then vacated the title as he left the sport to take care of his own personal stuff, which led to a match between Lawler and Hendricks to decide a new welterweight champion. Hendricks won that match by split decision, which set up a rematch this past December in which ruthless Robbie Lawler won by split decision. So Hendricks is 1-2 in the welterweight title fights, and all 3 of those title fights have gone to controversial decisions. So he's going to really need a decisive victory over Matt Brown if he wants another shot at that welterweight title. The co-main event of UFC 185 sees the Women's Strawweight Championship defended for the first time as the current champion Carla Esparza defends the title. I can't pronounce her opponent's name, and I am not even going to make an attempt to do so. I apologize for that, but I am really, really looking forward to this fight. I think this might be the fight that steals the show on the card. But then again, the main event does consist of Anthony Pettis versus Rafael Dos Anjos for the UFC Lightweight Championship. And Pettis usually always puts on a good match. So the main event and the co-main event, I think, are going to be really, really awesome. I have Pettis and Esparza both defending and retaining their championships. I will go into details about the winners and losers on next week's podcast, but as I said, I'm keeping this week's podcast short, so I am going to wrap it up for now. Before I go, I want to remind you that this show is sponsored by myself, buy a t-shirt design that I currently have up for sale on Teespring. Once again, it's $16.99, and the web address to check that out and to buy it is teespring.com/FR High Fives. I will put that link in the description in both the YouTube version of this podcast as well as the description on my main site, ochopointspodcast.com. And once again, for those of you that subscribe to this channel and send me a screen capture showing proof that you've subscribed to this channel, I will give a free code to get $3 off that shirt. But you must do so no later than Wednesday, March the 18th, because the final day of the t-shirt sale will be Thursday, March 19th. So ideally, try to get your pictures into me by Tuesday the 17th if you're interested in getting the shirt at a discount price, but definitely no later than Wednesday the 18th. And before I go, I just want to encourage you all to check out another YouTube channel. My buddy Terrence just started up a YouTube channel to promote his music. It's really, really good. I'm a big fan of it, and I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. I'd love to put a sample of it on here for you, but I didn't ask him for permission to do so, and I don't want to do it without asking him for permission. So I will just provide a link for you to visit his YouTube channel, and you can check out the music there. Please check out his channel and show it some love, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.